Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Are you guys ready? Okay, let's serve Uganda. As promised, we deliver. We are redefining the social media narrative, asking tough questions and holding your leaders accountable. We are non-partisan and break down having a conversation with Uganda.
We are the Mighty Drive. We hold debates that give you viable solutions. We bring to you people that Ivora is wanted to listen to. We are gender sensitive and give space to the unheard voices. Not forgetting the quote of the day.
We are live on our social media platforms, The Alternative Uganda on Facebook, YouTube and Twitter from Monday to Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Don't miss the debate behind the wheels and studios.
I am Edgar Matthew Karuhanga.
And Princess Luwe Delidian.
Expect in-depth analysis, credible, factual and authentic information. We are the Alternative Dig Talk.
Real issues, real talk.
Hey Ugandans, I'm Lieutenant Colonel Dewa Kiki, the Deputy Defense Spokesperson and actually the Deputy Spokesperson for the Uganda People's Defense Forces. I was hosted on Alternative Dig Talk. I encourage all Ugandans that this is the way to go. Always watch, participate, give your views and ask questions on Alternative Dig Talk. Dig Talk, the way to go.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Happy New Year to all Ugandans and everyone who is part of this show, from wherever you're watching from. This is the very first show of the hotline in the year 2022. And we must wish each of you a Happy New Year 2022. My name is Abdalla Tiff, once again here with the hotline show on the Alternative Dig Talk. Well, today there are so many issues that we need to dwell on, and this is some of the issues within the labor market. Of course, we know that each and every year Uganda produces many graduates from different universities across the country. But the biggest question remains, where do all these graduates go? We know that the government cannot provide job opportunities for all the graduates from different universities across the country. But the question remains, where can all these graduates go after university? Well, not only universities, there are even many other tertiary institutions that offer bachelor's degrees, diplomas, and other vocational qualifications. But still, the question of labor in this country seems not to have been well answered, and maybe the answers have not been generated yet. In the studios, I have Dr. Rogers Birungi Barigayomwe. I apologize for Barigayomwe. Well, thanks for the correction. Dr. Rogers Birungi Barigayomwe, he is the national chairman for the Labour Party. There is this East African Federation. Is it part of the party or it is something different?
Yeah, thank you, Abdalla, and thank you, our viewers, and Happy New Year. The notion why we started Labour Party, we were thinking about a party which can mean relevancy in the whole region. Like, right now I think we're even coming to 6 East African nations with the entry of DR Congo.
Yeah.
But what unites us as East Africa, we have to begin thinking about what unites us as East Africa. You will know very well that NRM means nothing to a Kenyan. NUP means nothing to a Tanzanian. So if we are starting to think East Africa, we have to think of parties which unite.
Okay.
And for a fact, one of the first provision was supposed to be a movement of labor. And that should have actually been realized by now by all East African member states, whereby one, a Ugandan would work in Tanzania without being asked for a work permit, or a Burundian working in Congo.
Or Uganda.
Yeah, or Uganda. So that's the spirit of East Africa. But even
so the real name is East African Federation Labour Party, or they are
no,
different?
Now, what we did is in the East African Federation Party, because the political federation of East Africa hasn't yet been realized, we decided to register Labour Party Uganda. There are Labour parties in Kenya, Tanzania, but with the hope that we will unite and be the first formidable party in the whole of East Africa. So it's a strategy, and but we have to, given that the political federation hasn't come, we have to participate in our respective countries. So in Uganda, it is the Labour Party.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Rogers Brunji. I think for this particular show, I am going to avoid this other name, Barigayomwe. I will go with Dr. Rogers Brunji.
Yes.
And I hope you will not be offended for leaving out one of your name.
Not at all, Abdalla.
Thank you so much, sir. Doctor, when you talk about, just in your preamble remarks, you talked about the East African Federation as something that has not been well appreciated within the region. But we all know that right from the 1970s and maybe some years back, there was the East African community. Now the East Africa, it has morphed into whatever it is at the the current times. So when you say that the East African Federation has not been well appreciated, when people they boast over the East African integration, that's why you're even talking of the sixth country, which is yet to be part of of the federation. What do you mean that East African Federation has not been well appreciated within the region?
It's been appreciated, but like I said, it hasn't been realized.
Okay.
By the way, by the entry of Congo will be the biggest growing bloc in Africa, even of course in the world, because EU is already static. But why hasn't it been appreciated, like you're asking, is because of the selfishness of the political leadership right now. What happens is, everyone knows that the East African Federation would be the best kind of vehicle we would need. And not only actually East African Federation, but all the blocs in Africa should come together. We should have this SADC, we should have the ECOWAS, and the North African countries should also come together, the Horn of African. Then later, that's when we can have real Pan-Africanism. But talking about the East African Federation, it won't be realized because of selfishness of some political class. Like I will tell you, for example, in our country, if for us to have East African Federation operate as one bloc, we have to have playing grounds. Okay. And I will tell you, like, for example, the ruling party here in Uganda is not willing to have good regulations, especially on the term limits. So they, in the spirit, as if they want the East African Federation, but they will frustrate it. And I'll tell you for one that, for example, the president talks about East African, but he's the biggest enemy of the federation, because one, if it comes to East Africa, he will not manipulate Uganda as he will. Leaders in Kenya will not manipulate. For example, recently you saw that in Kenya he was rejected, basically. But maybe, so that's the issue we have with East African Federation, that the class of leaders are rejecting it because of their selfishness I'll give you an example. For example, the tension between Uganda and Rwanda.
Okay.
This is not about, there is no conflict between Ugandans and Rwandese. And you will go and interview and you find there is no, but it is a selfishness between the leader of Uganda and President Yoweri Museveni, who have their personal beef, and they make it as if it is a national conflict. But this is a conflict between two men.
Well, Doctor, when we have such conflicts taking place, okay, not only the conflicts, if the federation, for instance, you talked about the term limits in Uganda, you know, in that the ground is not leveled for all these countries. What would be the alternative means to ensure that you know, the federation, they have well leveled grounds for each, you know, each state? What do you think needs to be done? Because we cannot kill these leaders to go away.
No, what, of course, now we would do, first of all, institutions operate when there are no strong men. And yeah, like you said, one of the two hindering countries, of course, I'll tell you, like, for example, it will be Uganda and Rwanda, where they still have people who have ruled for over 15 years. So when those ones go, and it will happen, of course, by nature, then there are many chances of having a federation play in force. But as we still have them, the negotiation is, at least they would have they could pull to have, for example, the common market. By now, the common market would be operational. And for example, what I mean by the common market is as to have a 1 shilling operating in the whole region. That one is, again, I told you, frustrated by the political leadership. So looking forward, as East African, I will tell you, for one, that, for example, Uganda, one thing which will bring us as East Africa together is a language, and East African Federation chose Swahili. But how have we implemented this? The Swahili, like, for example, in Uganda here. And that is all to do with the leadership and not having the political will. This is because learning a language in Swahili, it would be sponsored. It would be encouraged by now. Every Ugandan, you would be knowing some Swahili. I don't know if you know so much of it. But
I can speak some.
But very few Ugandans can speak Swahili. So if we would start at that level of communication, because as a federation, would be having to have a language to communicate with.
Doctor, in my thinking, what do you think is bringing this? Because should we say that the citizens within these, you know, the member states, they have not been well sensitized, you know, to understand the values of the federation? Because we could throw the blame to the leaders, but when even the citizens within the region, they really do not understand what could be the benefits for the federation within.
Actually, what they made the last would have been the first. In my opinion, if they first made let's say, the political federation should have been one of the first. Because, for example, as political parties, we are ready to come out. And who sensitizes people? These are political parties. For example, political Labour parties would come up in East Africa. Or, let's say, NUP would get to ODM in Kenya. When political players across the region start talking the same language and selling the federation, that's when it would be marketable. And actually, in my wisdom, it would remove the tension. Like, for example, I'll tell you, in Kenyan politics, you are seeing it right now playing in Kenya. It seems to be so tribal, just like we have here in Uganda. But if the political class is left to start negotiating across the board, across the region, then they will explain to the people why their political ideology and why we need to come together as East African. And that would remove the selfishness of people looking at themselves, like here in Uganda, Baganda, Ankole, Kikuyu. That tension will be taken away, and people would realize the need of federating. I'll give you an example. For example, the most successful region in East Africa via diffusing political tension is Tanzania. What Nyerere did, he forcefully moved Tanzanians around. He would get people from the north, take them in the south. He tried to mix them. And when he mixed them and he taught them one language, Swahili, they started reasoning as Tanzanians.
Yeah.
And it's very hard to find Tanzanian group themselves in tribal segments.
Yeah.
So that thing should be done in the whole East Africa, and that's when people will appreciate the need of having a common market and having all of us together. And we are one people, by the way, we are one people, and that should be emphasized.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Rogers Birungi. Maybe for the viewers, the East African Federation we are talking about, it started in 1917. That's when it started, and by then it was called, it was the Customs Union, which was between Kenya and Uganda, and then in then later around 1927, then Tanganyika also became part of it. Then it again became the East African High Commission. That's between 1948 to 1961. And again, you know, it has been going through various stages. And then it became the East African Common Services Organizations. That is from 1961 to 1967. And then the East African Community from 1967 to 1977. And now the East African Corporation, which existed between 1993 to 2000. And that's when we got what we have, the East African federation that we have currently. Now, Doctor, we need to switch back to the Labour Party. The Labour Party, this is, when I look at the persons behind this party, these are prominent people. Dr. Honorable Israel Mayengo as the party president, and then there is Pastor Byamukama Henry, who is the Byamukama,
the foreign secretary, maybe.
Yes, the foreign affairs secretary. And then, of course, you, the man himself, you know, Dr. Rogers Birungi. You see, these are prominent figures. These are prominent persons. One would think that the message of promoting the Labour Party would be much, much widespread compared to what it is. What is hindering your progress? And maybe to spread the wings of your party across the entire country and maybe even to participate in the national politics.
Yeah, we wanted it to grow naturally. Everything, when it has to grow naturally, like I told you, for example, Israel Mayengo, Honorable, is a very experienced politician. And at one time, he was a founder of the NRM. He was a vice of President Museveni in UPM. And he's mentored us. But he has been observing from the time he was in National Consultative Council in the 70s. He's been observing the trajectory of Ugandan politics and seeing the gaps. Marrying it, for example, with the East African Federation, like we've talked about. For us, we singled out labor as the issue which unites all people in East Africa.
Yeah.
But what people don't want to know is that even in Uganda, this is the biggest single factor. I'll give you a scenario, for example, what is happening, for example, in Uganda right now. Labor unions are coming up, though they were suppressed. And knowing that we are dealing with a military regime, we had to go calculatively because they would kill the vision. The vision is not us, yet the vision is for the people. Right now, if you notice, in the last 3 months, first we had intern doctors, now midwives, now lab. Now, in the first 2 months, it will be medical workers on a sit-down strike. Then next, it might be teachers as the schools start. Very soon, you're about to hear teachers' demands. Yet we have over 1,000 sectors. If it goes like this, I have to first strive to be given my wages. These are all labor issues. And because it is a military kind of regime, it doesn't understand the labor issues. And they are not humble enough to come and ask us as a labor expert, how do we play this? Because
Doctor, I think you've not well positioned yourselves to be recognized that on matters to do with labor, these are pertinent persons whom we should involve. I believe you've not done much.
No, it's not like for example, I will tell you, I have a doctorate in political studies. Your ruling president has a bachelor's, and even with my doctorate, there is a study, by the way, I studied for one of my doctorates, and it was electronic government. I did a research about how governments, how education institutions should go on to be digital like you guys are doing here. And that is 10 years ago. My research is out there. And I would say government at one time even paid for me. But when you have results, you're never consulted like an expert. Because you are not maybe a sycophant. This regime wants sycophants. People who say, hey, Mr. President, even if he's putting on a blue suit, you say, hey, your suit is yellow, yet it is blue. So here, if you want sycophants, you are not going to include experts like me or people who have experience. Because for them, you will only get these desperate people who have nothing to do, like the fishermen they talk about, and qualified people who are experts will be ignored. And that's what this regime is doing. But we are there, not even with a pay, to share this knowledge. Because this country belongs to all of us. And even for me, I don't need to first have Labour Party in government to advise government on labor issues. If they called me, if, for example, you've heard of this thing of iPod. iPod is a group of parties which are in parliament. But imagine, for example, in 1981, if you said parties which were in parliament, UPM wasn't there. Museveni wouldn't be, but a man had ideas which we see has brought up. So this thing of isolating ideas is killing Ugandans. And so if we had a platform where all experts would be consulted, and for us we are waiting for decent politics also. We are not going to deal in this kind of politics of tear gas. We still have the potential and we believe time is on our side. So instead of having politics of do or die, I will tell you, for example, there is a generation, these ruling people, when they came to power, none of them had property in Kampala. All of them were peasants. Where did President Museveni have a house in Kampala here? Where did he have a car? So they are working out of desperation. That's what I'm showing you. We should leave politics of desperation and come up with decent politics. And we are waiting for that time. We've begun engaging. And time is on our side that people are beginning to realize the things we are telling them. We are talking, for example, about rotational leadership. And we are saying, in Labour Party, we will talk about having rotational leadership. Kenya is almost discussing something like that. But it is successful
it's on tribal sentiments.
Exactly, it is. But that's why the Kenyatta has now realized that they need to have a Luo come in. And
so
that
is that the kind of idea you're proposing?
The idea we have, yes, is that we have 4 regions in Uganda, for example, and these are known. Why don't you make people, let's say in the East who have never had, why don't you, for example, this is something like in Nigeria where they do it, they share power between the South and the North. Here we can share power between the East, North, West, and South. Why? For example, I'll tell you, I come from the Western region. I can see the West has drastically changed because of having this government in power. I come very close to Nyabushozi. You would not take a bicycle 30 years ago in Nyabushozi. It was very primitive. The Bahima were just next to the Karamajong in primitivity. Now you see how Bahima are developed. Why don't we give a chance to also Karamajongs to come up, because we know in Africa here, we operate in tribes. We cannot deny that. But if it is rotates around, all regions will change. So for us in Labour Party, we are talking about rotational leadership. We are not thinking about having only one tribe in power.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Rogers Birungi, and that is a new idea that is being fronted by the Labour Party.
Have you heard it anywhere? Yeah, but isn't it, no, the idea, but isn't it a sensible idea?
Yes, it is indeed sensible, and just like any other party, each party, they always have a unique element within themselves. Just a few weeks back, I was here with Major General Mugisha Muntu, and he also, he was presenting some really good issues from his side. And when you host someone from the National Unity Platform, he's also going to give you his message like, well, these are the right persons. And when you speak to NRM people, like, we're also on this agenda. So that is a general political discussion, a general political narrative. Each and person, political party, always they have to identify that spatial niche that differentiates them from other political actors. Now, Doctor, you mentioned about time being on your side. I find this a bit confusing. You see, when you become very comfortable with the ruling system, the government in power, and of course the atrocities of whatever sort being done onto Ugandans, and you're comfortably enjoying your seats wherever you are, waiting for the right time to come, and you do not actively participate in creating the change desired within the country. Isn't that being doing a disservice to this country?
No, actually,
because as they wait, you're also aging out.
I'm not saying this is a time. This is our time. I'll give you, for example, an example from South Africa. That's why I got my doctorate, and I studied very well the labor system in South Africa.
Okay.
What people don't know, that the ANC had failed to bring political leadership to the black in South Africa. Actually, what the Mandelas went into rebellion, and once you would go in rebellion, they would pick you and take you to the Robben Islands. But where South Africa got success is from the labor union. Because when the laborers would say, these Bazungu came to get money out of the mines, and the laborers would say, the mine workers would say, we are not going to work, because you are not going to tear gas them from their homes. They will just wait when we start saying the teachers are not going to teach, or the doctors. These people will sweat plasma. So what we are saying, we are actually just even sometimes considerate for the economy. But at one time, we are going to mobilize, just like the movement have naturally started. Whereby, because we are Uganda, we are considerate that why should you have demonstrations and you kill 50 Ugandans because you're dispersing a rally? This mentality of militarizing everything has to end. And it will only end by labor union. You saw, NUP tried its best, but you saw where they reached. So we wanted those people with all excessive energies to try their best.
As you're going to hiding?
Then we are not in hiding. We've been talking. You've had our ideas. I'm here. Yep. We've written them. We've even exchanged them between political parties. We say we are selling. You see, the issue we have here, people want power, selfish power. I don't need to be a president.
Okay.
I need my idea to. If President Museveni could implement my idea now, I would be comfortable.
You'd be okay.
Exactly. So this selfishness of saying everyone has to be a president of Uganda is what is bringing around confusion. That people even left different professions, that we are soon having every comedian, and no, it shouldn't be the case. It should be, like you said, sharing ideas, and the best idea can be adopted, even with the ruling system. Yeah. But even our discussions are like enmity.
And FDC doesn't want to listen to one from Labour Party.
Exactly, because
Labour Party doesn't want to listen from NUP. It's
yeah. That's why we are saying we want all of them to settle and see that we can all work together, opposition and ruling party. But that one will only be realized when these arrogant leaders And I'll tell you, because for sure they are our fathers. When they maybe die out, even I will say it like that.
Yeah.
Because they are so arrogant, they think they have the best ideas, and they don't know that life will sort them out. So when the so powerful people who think they have all the powers, God sorts them out, then we will come to a table. For me, I'm sure, for example, I'll tell you that after President Museveni, there will be no other leader who will not want to listen to the other. He's the only person now we have who is the strong man, sort of. So instead of, and you know, the only thing is, because he's in the category of Gaddafi, whereby you will need to bomb the whole of Kampala for him to go, and he will not still go. So why do you cause that chaos? If he cannot listen, time will sort it himself out, and the rest will listen. All of us, Ugandans, at one time will listen to each other because there will be no strong man. So we are looking at that time, but even as we wait for that time, we will start mobilizing workers and tell them to watch out, to use their rights. Because, for example, I'll tell you, I'm a human rights expert. When I don't give, if I decide not to teach, you will not force me to. So we are going to, and that's what we are doing, human rights education. And that's why most of these places you don't see us, but we go. And even tell these people, intern doctors, we train them. We tell them what to do. So we are active as Labour Party. It's just that you don't see us, but we, in the background, that's what we need to do. Because someone uses his strength. My strength is the brain. It is not the, I'm not a military man. So I use my strength, which is the brain. And I engage on that. Because I'm a double doctor, I will use the brains. I'm not an army general. So I use my best asset.
Well, this is interesting. Thank you so much, Dr. Birungi. Well, the Labour Party, I want to applaud your that unique element you're trying to, to front and tread before Ugandans so that they can really maybe join and, support your cause. The issue of Labour, it still has many challenges here.
Yes.
And we've seen a number of trade unions coming up, though they do not seem to be very much vibrant as one would expect. And I believe there are many other sectors that you also need to involve. Mobilize them and have them on board so that you can well trade and sell your ideas to them. Well, Doctor, what strategies are you using as a party? Because here when you talk about a political party, we put you in the categories of the National Resistance Movement, we put you in the categories of the FDC, categories of National Unity Platform, UPC, DP, JEMA, CP, and all other political groupings. Currently we have 26 registered political parties. I believe Labour Party inclusive. Now, what are some of the strategies? Unlike engaging the internal doctors, that, you can do it better, you can do it this way. What are you doing to engage average Ugandans? Someone watching us right now from Luengo, I'm seeing them here. The one is from Luengo and wherever they are. How are you involving and putting such people, bringing them on board? Yeah,
it is we are educating them. Most of it is sensitization. For example, a person in Luengo, we tell them that Labour, what the government should do is that it should channel that as a person gives their labor, then there should be a reward. There should be reward for labor. For example, someone in Luengo who grows cabbage is also a laborer. That's why we are advocating for reintroduction of cooperatives. There used to be cooperatives in this country. That someone who grows coffee in Kasese can take their product and they are sure
to the
of what they exactly to the cooperative society. They used to be there. Banyankore Kweterana, Bukonjo, Bugishu Cooperative. It's I think Bugishu is the only one which is still a bit surviving, but also not being supported by government. So what we are saying is you are a laborer. If we channel our resources to laborers, in our government, what we want to have is that, for example, laborer people in the medical sector can choose even who the minister the medical minister will be. basically, the people in agriculture will do that. This is the advantage, is that right now with this kind of economy, which is the gambling of NRM, what happens is people, that's why you see in even villages, they are betting clubs. Because someone knows that he can go actually and bet in a day and get 1 billion shillings in just a night without working hard. So it is discouraging work and labor because it is a gambling economy. Someone can go in an office and get billions of shillings in even a few months. So this NRM system is encouraging gambling. So for us, what we want to do is to channel money to laborers, that it will be unheard of. When someone plants their cabbages, they will be sort of sure deal of getting market. And right now with this kind of gambling of the present regime, you find middlemen are getting more money than the workers and the laborers. So that's how we are sensitizing them. And we say, it's just like how it used to be in the times of Jesus, that the Messiah will come. At one time, these things are going to come back. You will see them. And we strengthen. And we're like, people will one time do them. Out of gambling, they've started this parish model. Yeah? If you don't make union strong, the parish model can't operate. Because the parish model, so long as it is in Uganda, it has to operate through agricultural products. So a market has to be strong for agricultural products. But people have gambled, now they are saying a lot of money in the parish model. No, just strengthen. This thing has worked. It educated our parents, and it will educate these Ugandans. It will help people, like you said, in the rural places. So that's a package we have for them as a Labour Party.
Doctor, I think on that same issue of the parish model and all that, I think you can do more than that. Have you ever taken the initiative to engage maybe the Prime Minister, the permanent secretaries in those implementing departments to ensure that maybe they can consider your views, you know, so that because at the end of it all, you all want to see that an average Ugandan is being served, you know, is getting the service that is needed. So have you ever tried to engage these people, like the office of the Prime? Just as a party, you could go and meet them and share your views with them.
I'll tell you like an expert, because I'm an expert in that area, and I've tried to work with the office of the Prime Minister, and especially the old regime with Honorable
Dr.
Ugunda, who looked a more fine gentleman. Even in his honorable character, he would listen, but somehow he would tell you that this thing is not on our agenda. But right now we have even worse fishermen there. So now how will you engage even a fisherman? That's why we are saying this country is degenerating. How will a fisherman listen to a concept from a professor and appreciate it? And an arrogant fisherman, that's what we are saying. This country is degenerating even in morals. So long as it is the government to put platforms to get these ideas. We're always talking on these. Now imagine we come more into these media houses instead of channeling these ideas to, like you said, the right channels. But I will ask you, which forum is there? I told you, iPod, they do their politics. We are not part of the iPod because
represented in Parliament.
Yeah, only members. But who tells you that people who have sense are people who have the MPs representation in Parliament?
But the other forums, like the National Consultative Forum,
all those are
and
comedy talks.
No,
and I'm telling you,
Labour Party is represented on the National Consultative Forum.
No, let me tell you, even the iPod itself is not operational. You get it? If we would listen that they implemented this idea and NRM is humble enough to say we got this from FDC, just like you see in more developed economies and countries like the West, there are times they make it in such a way that one system does not stay for a long time. Like I'll tell you, in the United States, the Democrats cannot stay for more than 10 years. And Republican cannot stay for more than 10 years because they know it that just like you need strength and weaknesses, people's strength and weaknesses always. So that is the notion they operate on. But here we haven't realized. You find a ruling government calling all other people shrine. First, it has to be even the gesture of trying to appreciate the other side. As opposition, we have to appreciate that the NRM has done this good job, but they cannot do up to this level. Then they also have to acknowledge that actually us,
we have done something.
We have done something, but our brains have now reached maybe the ice level, and now we cannot reason beyond this level. Our young people
should take over.
Yeah, because for me, I feel even they are so selfish because some of us are even their products. Every one of us, a youth, we are their product, but they are that selfish that they don't want even to listen to you. Even when you are more qualified than them in that area. But that is selfishness, and it's also arrogancy, which will end.
Well, thank you so much. It is the Hotline Show that runs every Monday, and we are privileged on the very, very first show for the year 2022. We have Dr. Rogers Birungi, who is the national chairman for the Labour Party of Uganda. He said that the aspiration is to have many Labour parties in different countries within the East African region. I do not know how far you've gone into that to establish the other branches in other countries around the East African Federation. But maybe that will be for some other time. Now, Doctor, Uganda is a country. We have many underlying challenges. One, there is a question of corruption. Corruption is a very, very big crisis in this country. And to the point that at one time the president said it is good the corrupt officials, the investing the swindled money in the country. That is kind of ridiculous. Now, as the Labour Party, I believe you not only preach labor, year in and year out. You'll have to have strategies, plans on how to tackle and deal with other issues. Now, as the Labour Party, what strategies do you have to combat corruption in this country?
Easy. The first is minimum wage. We are going to give a wage which is not comical. Our wage system is so comical that you can give a traffic officer 200,000, 200 to 300,000. And he's dealing with the people who have vehicles of billions, who some are offenders but are willing to give what you are giving for a month in just a minute.
Yeah.
This is so comical, and I don't know why these people don't realize this. Let us be realistic with our salary system. So, as Labour Party, will give a minimum wage.
Okay.
I'll give you, for example, a doctorate, moreover, double doctorate, 2 doctorate. But there is no system which regulates my wage. Rwanda is doing it just across. That when I went to California, they told me that I could earn $100 to move a rich man's dog around in an hour. So when I calculated that here, I earn peanuts. That's what you call brain drain. That our best brains are going out because there is no minimum wage. That we have enslaved all our children. I've been to Entebbe Airport, moving out of the country several times this last year. You see, half of the airport is, this time we are enslaving ourselves. That time they used to call it slave trade. Now we are voluntary slaves. And government is looking on. Some of those people
issuing out certificates of
bachelors and masters. And even very soon, I think even there are some PhDs going to do Kadama kind of work. But this government is very unserious. Yeah? Minimum wage will tackle corruption. At worst, let's do the tipping system, where let someone go to work. Maybe they are getting that that is salary of you give to traffic officers 200,000, then allow people to tip them, because what we are moving in is pretense. Today I was telling someone, every person you see, including all of us here, the system, because the NRM system of operation is corruption, all of us have become corrupt. Even the reverends and bishops in the churches are corrupt because they are eating off corruption money. I challenge anyone to come. They hear your digital talk. Any Ugandan, reverend, pastor, bishop, come here and tell me that I'm not corrupt. I've lived in Uganda for 1 year and I'm not corrupt. Everyone has become corrupt, including me and you. Because corruption is the only operational system introduced, and it, like you saw recently, the president even defended it. What we know in the law is the president's word is called quasi-judicial. Actually, when he says something, it becomes law and policy. So, by his last statement about corruption, on a corruption day, that no, you, IGG, leave the corrupt people to actually become corrupt so long as they can invest in Uganda, became a law. That actually it is good to be corrupt so long as you are investing in Uganda.
He said, actually, we are very lucky as a country. All the corrupt officials, they invest their money in Uganda. Country.
Now, that is what he will be known for encouraging corrupt people to invest their money, for encouraging corruption, so long as money is invested in the economy. But there are ways, like I've given you one, minimum wage.
You've given me two. You even talked about the tipping system.
The tipping system can take away corruption. Because in Europe, what people don't know, they go
someone
to salons, someone does good hair to you, you tip. And it is official, it's not corruption. Yeah? If you fail, for example, to pay your public servants well, then introduce a tipping system.
But we've done that, doctor. That happens. I personally tip.
It's not official. Actually, right now in Uganda, if you do tip, you are corrupt. If you go and you get, for example, a passport as fast as possible, and you give an officer money, it is corruption. Do you get it? Yet, government has failed to pay these officers, even the minimum. So that's why I'm saying, if government has failed, they say they don't have resources, let them introduce a tipping system whereby officers are appreciated by the public.
Well, thank you, Doctor. The issue of the minimum wage, it's a debate that has, of course, been within the public domain for quite a while. And many people think the current setting of Uganda, when it comes to the labor market, the demand is higher compared to, the available jobs. And people think that its applicability, may really be difficult, because if I walk into your office and you're telling me my salary maybe should be 3 million shillings, if you cannot afford it, there is someone who is willing to offer the job at a lesser figure. I don't know what parameters you have, what measures you have, to ensure that such things, get dealt with.
I'll give you a practical one. When they started the minimum wage, they removed minimum wage and they said, no, one ED of KCCA gets 40 million. That is not what we want to introduce. No, we want to introduce. You're saying that you're educating Ugandans. There is UPE. And this, if you fisherman, Prime Minister Naban, you're listening to me, implement this. If you're saying you have UPE, what have you ring-fenced for people who have gone to UPE? You have to ring-fence a sector. For example, say that if you don't have a P7 certificate, you cannot drive a border. But because of that cheap politics, they feared. But you are educating people. You are saying UPE. But you are not saying that. To look at, do you know that in Uganda, a bus driver has no minimum qualification? A bus driver, a man he drives people of all of us, PhD, masters, responsible people, but he has no qualification. But why don't you ring fence that for someone who did, people who have O level? Do they need, is this rocket science? It is common sense, but they don't want to even apply common sense. Ring fence, start ring fencing, because you've said people should go for UPE. What is ring fenced for UPE? What is ring fenced for USE? When you start that, someone will start saying, if you don't have this certificate, you cannot even be given a border permit. That's the fastest way of putting people to school. But you have a system where people are even up to university and jobs are not ring fenced for them. It's only the presidency which is ring fenced. What kind of pretense? So we have to be practical. If we say this for education, then ring fence positions for, and that alone will drive away. It will be practical. Because you are, like I hear the president say that he cannot employ everyone in the public sector. Yeah, but ring fence the private sector also. It's been done, even in our neighbor, like I told you, in Rwanda, it is applicable. Yeah? But this is one of the practical methods I can give you.
Now, Doctor, we also have a scenario, when you talk about ring fencing, certain professions or certain academic, qualifications. We are in a country where we have the lawmakers with the minimum academic requirements of senior 6, and these are the people making laws for the country. These are the people determining the wages for, the salaries for professors like you, doctors like you, Now, do you have a plan to deal with this kind of situation, whereby you have a doctor, you're a double doctor, but you find a senior 6 graduate who is in parliament working with 30 millions at the end of the month?
That is the first place to be ring-fenced, even before we bring fence. If just for morals, but I would say our 500 members of parliament are useless. And I can defend myself on that. They are totally useless. Recently, I was on my farm and I met it's one of these people who they call the mafia, the strong man. I can't even say his name. He picked a phone call. He said, this bypass, you see this northern bypass? I was talking to Mosei about it. We can channel it as we want. Yeah? He said, actually, let me call the ED of United Uganda National Roads Authority. He rang, and the ED picked. I heard the name because I know her. They talked about a road which even was not in the plan, which was not even in the budget, and they decided to have it, and that was between a rich man, an ED of UNRA, and the president. I said, all these MPs are useless. They are things, it's like we are in a comedy. And I'm telling you, we are in a country and everything is comic. All these, they are wasting our resources. All these MPs you think you have members of parliament, they are the most useless Ugandans. Because they cannot influence such even a path. I will tell you, MPs cannot influence a path. Yet, a mafia rich man can do it. So we are wasting all our money in wage bills for these members of parliament who cannot legislate, they have not, like you've talked about, they are not researchers. What have they researched about? They are commoners. If in 1962, the caliber of our parliament, given the status of education that time, was high. High level, people of integrity. But now here you have comedians, musicians, and just gamblers. And it's like I told you, even people who have logic, and I will tell you I'm one of them, have been ring-fenced out of politics. You know why? Because you cannot go, to be a politician, you have to withstand tear gas. Anyone, you have to go celebrate Museveni's 90th birthday in a city square, and they tear gas you, then you become a politician in Uganda. But when you have two PhDs like me, one in political studies and another one in management science, and moreover public management, you are useless. They ring-fenced us out of even our areas. And you have 500 hopeless MPs who cannot influence a legislation. This country is morally going down. It's only a revolution. It's only God to liberate us. And our fathers are to blame. NRM, these people who call themselves revolutionaries, they've betrayed the country so much.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Rogers Birungi. That was quite an elaborative discussion.
Thank you.
And I think Ugandans should give the Labour Party an opportunity. The country should listen to you. The country should appreciate your ideology. You know, I believe you have something good for this country. Well, we'll be taking a very short break, and we'll be back in the second hour. Welcome, don't go out.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Nze omubejja luwedde Lilian mbaniriza maka gaffe amajja era nga wano tugenda okuba nga tukolera programu yaffe emanyiddwa nga The Voltage gaba amasannyalaze gennyini era nga twogera ku bintu ebyenjawulo omwo nno mwe muli ebigenda mu maaso mu ggwanga, ensonga z'ebyobufuzi n'obukulembeze bw'eggwanga Uganda, twogera ku nsonga ez'abavubuka, eddembe ly'obuntu awamu n'ebyenkulaakulana. Togisubwa buli lunaku olwokutaano eba ssaawa emu ey'akawungeezi paka ssaawa 3 ez'ekiro.
The Diaspora Link buli lwakuna ssaawa 11 paka ssaawa emu ey'olweggulo ye program gye tukuleetedde wano ku Alternative Digital Uganda. Tugenda batutunulira embeera z'Abannayuganda, baganda baffe, bannyinaffe zibawangaaliramu mu mawanga ag'ebunaayira. Bangi banyigirizibwa, bangi bakosebwa, bangi bayisiddwamu amaaso. Naye tugenda batutunulira engeri gye tusobola okulongosaamu embeera zaabwe. Tugenda kuba tulaba abo abakwatibwako abateekeddwa okuba nga balongoosa embeera zino eno. Tosubwa buli lwakuna n'omuweerezaawo Nixon Segawa.
Hello everyone, my name is Abdalla Tiff and I welcome you to the Hotline Show here at the Alternative Dig Talk as we discuss issues of national importance. Join us every Monday 7 to 9 p.m. and see who will be occupying these seats here with us. Keep it Dig Talk, real issues, real talk.
Hey Ugandans, I'm Lieutenant Colonel Dewa Kiki, the Deputy Defense Spokesperson and actually the Deputy Spokesperson for the Uganda People's Defense Forces. I was hosted on Alternative Dig Talk. I encourage all Ugandans that this is the way to go. Always watch, participate, give your views and ask questions on Alternative Dig Talk. Dig Talk, the way to go.
Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Well, thank you so much and welcome back from that short break. It is the Hotline Show and we continue with Dr. Rogers Birungi, who is the National Chairman for the Labour Party. Well, we expected some colleagues to join us here and that is, we're expecting Mr. Wadada Michael from the National Resistance Movement, and we expected him to come and occupy this seat here with us. Unfortunately, he has failed to show up in time. We don't know maybe what could have happened. We don't know whether he's on his way coming, but we'll be giving you the updates. We also expected to have Dr. Joel Mirembe. He is a member and a former contestant for, I think, Mawokota South. He is a former contestant, member of parliament. Unfortunately, we have also lost him. He was supposed to be with us via online, but things have not worked out. Maybe next time we'll be able to engage them. The hotline show continues, and glad we are with Dr. Rogers Virungi, who has really created time to be with us and share some of the plans, the ideas, and what they wish for this country as the Labour Party, and maybe perhaps if one time they happen to be in charge of this country. That could maybe happen one time, you never know. Well, Doctor, there's so many things. We talked about corruption and how you're planning to combat it. That is through the tipping system, whereby if one renders a good service and you appreciate, then you're free to pick something and you're like, please, thank you for the service. And then also the minimum wage, you've also well elaborated it. And I think that could be really, it could help in, curbing the corruption which has affected service delivery in this country. Now, Doctor, we've been hit by COVID-19. And from December 2019, though we registered the first cases here around Feb, that is Feb 2020. Now, from that time up to now, we are still living with COVID-19, and it has also just been showing up in different phases. And now we have the Omicron, in different variations. Now, we all know how the economy has been hit back, and some of the things that help to bring in revenue, that is the risk tourism, of course, and the private sector, many things within the private sector. As the Labour Party, what would be your plans to revive this economy? What would be your plans to deal with this country in such times?
Yeah, like most of what government does is firefighting. But we've learned something as Labour Party.
Yeah.
And we'd call that stimulus package for workers. I will tell you, for example, in most of the countries we've done research and have visited recently, when you were a worker, for example, you are 50 years old, what the government did, they would look at from 25 when you started working to 50, you work 25 years. They put a policy, some of them to say, get 10% of the taxes you've been paying. And I'm telling you, many of them, even some are still in their homes and their paychecks are coming in. Because you used to pay taxes. And now there is a catastrophe, a calamity. You have to earn as the laborers, I have money in NSSF and I wasn't paid by the university, but I could not even access my money. They are giving it to me when the economy is open, and I think that one will never get it as workers. You can see, I told people, but do you think the army people were not getting money? Actually, this COVID has benefited mainly the military people, because they've been getting border guys, getting, even the LDU has enjoyed. Policemen say, I wish COVID continues. Because I told people, the spirit, you cannot give what you don't have. These are military people. They've been getting. Now we are telling people, you are workers, have your government as labor government. We would have the stimulus. We will introduce it, whereby something like, for you, what you would understand is like how you see NSSF. But what also we take it to a notch higher, that if we have such calamities, then people are able to eat in what they've been paying as taxes, and they can survive for some time. This is not a myth, because it has worked in the West and other countries. Even South Africa here, you would say, in South Africa, people were getting stimulus packages. So the government was not prepared, and that's what we tell people. People, you know, these some of them, these peasants, sometimes we will start talking to them arrogantly. That you people, when we tell you this as experts, you say, for us we are giving yellow, we are giving red, but you have to, when it is a political season, you have to start questioning your leaders. What are you going to do for us? For example, there is a myth that we have 5 workers MP. Again, useless. How do you say people who contribute 95% to the economy have 5 workers MP? Even the army has more MPs than workers MP. This is circus, comedy. And that's why I said, for us, we are waiting for a time when we'll change the whole constitution. This thing of comedy, let them play their comedy from Luwero up to the time they will stop. If they are willing to listen to us, we can give the ideas. But this whole system is a comedic kind of system.
Doctor, when you talk of a stimulus package, the same regime you're castigating will come and tell you we issued out posho beans and latto milk to Ugandans. That was a stimulus package from them.
This is how far we've fallen. A stimulus package. Because I had to make sure, and I thank them for, you know, first of all, in our culture as Africans, you have to think. I also received the 3 kilos of beans.
Oh, you're a beneficiary.
Yes, because I was one of the people who needed it. The 3 kilos, 1 kilo took about a day to get ready. So, but
the beans.
If those 3 kilos of beans and even the president comes to start slicing it to show us how we can economize and eat 4 kilos, is it 10 kilos of posho he gave us as a stimulus package, we deserve a better government. That cannot be, in labor, we cannot have that as a stimulus, and Ugandans will never, we reject that as a stimulus package. That is for the dogs, not for human beings.
Doctor, the president went ahead to demonstrate, you know,
how
these were not normal times for the country. So the president even went ahead and shared his ideas.
That's why
on how you can have a piece of, you know, and how you can really enjoy a meal.
Because they were not prepared as government. You cannot tell me 35 years you are not prepared. These things, and this is maybe also not only for NRM, but it's an African system. People just want to firefight. But as a prepared government for 35 years, we expected much better.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Rogers Birungi, the national chairman for the Labour Party. Well, we have been joined by Mr. Wadada Michael. He's an NRM activist. Of course, you've come in the second hour of the show, but we understand you're coming from Umbale, so you may have found many hurdles along the way, but we thank you for making it. Please say hi to our viewers.
Hello, viewers. Good evening. I will start by wishing you a Happy New Year, and of course, most importantly, extending my apologies. I think we all been through festivities, and I was caught up in the midst. I confirmed attendance for this talk show, but I was a little bit delayed, but I had to make sure I be here and come and discuss issues of national importance.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Wadada. The Englishman says better late than never. Yes, we also expected Dr. Mirembe Joel from the National Unity Platform, who was supposed to be part of the show through our online channels. Unfortunately, we have failed totally to have him part of the show. Well, Mr. Wadada, before you came in, we have had a very lengthy discussion with Dr. Rogers Birungi, Barigayomwe. I'm sorry for that name. And he has given quite a number of proposals. And how we could have this country elevated from where it is today to maybe higher levels. If we talk about elevation, definitely, of course, each person has different ways of how they see the elevation. One would say that maybe the status quo should be maintained. And for doctor says everything is in a mess. Now, do you think Uganda deserves change as a young activist from the ruling party, the party that has been in power for the last 35 years? Do you believe it is time to have a change of the political status quo in this country?
Yes and no. And I'll start with a yes bit. I think as an NRM youth activist, there are basically two issues that I have with my party and the current establishment that I passionately support. Number one is the civil service system. The fact that it's premised and embedded on the red tape bureaucracy and all that, I think that is one of our biggest misgivings.
Okay.
And number two is our education curriculum. That is something I always say that I state it without fear of contradiction, that we need to revise our education curriculum. I think it was towards the end of the campaign, around November, I was having a discussion with one of the big army officials, and he was telling us a story because he had his course in China, and was taking us through the journey of the Chinese curriculum. And what intrigued me is how the Chinese have planned for the young people, for their population. He was telling us that you would find that if a cohort, if my cohort that sat P7 in 2007, and then Senior 4 in 2010, and then Senior 6 in 2012, if you join P1, by the time you sit P7, 80% will proceed. About 60% will proceed to the next level, and the others will be co-opted in the other vocational sectors to be considered in the different sectors.
Fields, yeah.
So by the time the cohort gets to university, about 20% are the ones that are now actually getting into the university and perhaps take charge of these technocrat kind of professions. But then a vast of the young workforce is absorbed within the industrial labor force. So I think that is one very key thing that our education curriculum lacks. Because up to date, I asked myself why I had to study the rainlands. In the first season I've been in my home district, I come from Sironko. But I was moving around places that I've never been to. But I studied the rainlands. I know the rainlands quite well. I know them end to end. I know the Tennessee Valley Authority. I know all these things, but I've never been there. But I don't know my things back home. I posted a video. You know, we in my area, this is our circumcision year. I posted a video of a gentleman, my cousin brother, who was circumcised. And I saw people reacting, but I even couldn't come out and defend it because I don't understand even my culture. So my education curriculum has not even based on the fact that it is empowering me. So if me, at my level right now, I'm a graduate in international business, but I cannot defend my culture end to end. So I think that there's a very big problem.
Is that a problem with the government?
No, you see, it is a problem with the government itself, number one, and number two, the decisions taken.
By?
The government.
Okay.
Yes, the government itself. Because, you see, it is a person who understands society, the societal infrastructure, that gets to know that if we are to make important citizens right from the young age, how do we prepare them? First of all, they have to understand their country. They have to understand what they are working for. They have to understand what they are looking forward to.
But Bwana Wadada, you know, when you talk about the government, because in your response you say that it is yes and no, and so you started with a yes.
Yes.
One of the reasons to justify your yes is that at your age, a graduate with international business, you do not know about your culture. I think primarily this would be a role for your parents and maybe the surroundings. Aren't we expecting too much from the government?
Well, you see, at the end of the day, we have to expect a lot and too much from the government.
Okay.
That is a given. We cannot even debate about it. You see, it is now the government to actually understand the society of the people it is leading. Understand that we have parents that need help to guide their children. And how do we do that? We shape a curriculum that helps them do that. You see, I remember one time I was at university and one of our lecturers was telling us that in China, a lecturer or a tutor is going to come to class and get the first student in front and mention the names of all the other students. And by the time they are done, the student can actually recall the names of all the other. But how many of us can do that? I don't know whether you get my point. My point is, it is about the mental capability, the mental capacity of a young person to understand that, first of all, it is important to know each other. It is important to know your people. It is important to know what matters to you.
Well, could you go to the no part?
Now the no bit, I think, and I appreciate that the current establishment has tried to do what it can, given the status quo, given the time. Given the time they came to power, the status quo at the time, I think that they've tried to do a couple of things to try and kickstart and try and give us some semblance of hope that they can actually revitalize.
We still have hope in 35 years?
Well, you see,
we could actually be celebrating the hope, not still expecting, being hopeful.
You see, changing a society or an environment is actually a process. It's not an event. It could even take more than that.
Okay.
It could even take more than 35 years. Yes, for rhetorical purposes, you could actually easily pass it off and say 35 years. But hey, what is the breakdown of 35 years? We have a couple of segments. 1986 to 1996, we had basically, we basically had more of a transitional government. Right from the previous governments. You know, the first 10 years were basically trying to revitalize, try to study here and there. Actually, I think most of the people, especially the 40s and above.
So you exclude the 10 years?
No, I don't exclude them. I'm only trying to give you, because I don't like looking at things out of context. I want to understand the whole context of it. That the 10 years are part of the 35 years.
But
you see, the track, because like I was saying, you actually made me lose my point. Like the 45 years and above, those are people who believed so much. Majority of those ones that are actually anti this government are people who supported this government vehemently. Actually, in 1996, many of those ones actually vehemently supported this government. But somewhere, somehow, I think when government priorities a little bit change in terms of, you see, I think as a country, we have failed ourselves for one thing. We have failed to understand the importance of, I think the doctor understands it. We have failed to appreciate the importance of research. We have totally absconded from research.
As a country, as a generation, as
a continent,
okay.
As a country, as a region, as a continent.
Okay.
We have failed at that. And you see, at the end of the day, we, the young ones, are learning from, actually I always tell my good friends who are in their 50s and 40s that I think the people that actually let us down are them.
The doctors.
The doctors.
Okay.
Why? Because they got comfortable. They went to university. After university, they got jobs and got comfortable in their jobs. Didn't take it upon themselves.
Michael, I expected you to take me through those factors that you think we should maintain the status quo. Like you gave me the reasons for the yes, why there should be maybe change in the political status quo. But now when you went to the no bit of it, I expected you to tell me that because of ABCD, I think we should maintain the current government.
You see, I am a realist. I'm not an idealist. And I normally don't know how to pretend about things. The truth of the matter is I support this government because for mainly about 3-4 reasons. Number one is the security question. I know for a fact that in an environment where you're not secure, where the political environment is very uncouth, no serious business can be done. And I can tell you that one, it is a non-negotiable to me, that the first basis for growth and development, any environment to sprout growth and development should be peaceful. So I really want to appreciate that. Yes, some people will argue out and say that absence of war doesn't necessarily mean peace. But I say that we need to appreciate that at least we have lived a sustainable. We have been in an environment for quite, because me, I don't know, save for the times I've gone to Chankwanzi for trainings where you shoot here and there, but I've never been in an environment where I'm hearing bullets in my neighborhood.
Oh,
yes,
in
the last 28 years.
Where do you stay?
I stay in Mutungo.
Wow.
Yeah, I've not been in an environment
You
where...
must be enclosed in a... Is it in a cave?
Where do you hear the bullets?
No, I'm the interviewer.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I think, no, finish that point. I want Doctor to come in.
Yeah, so I want to, number one, security. And number two is, it is a good thing. You see, right from when this government came in power, we had the 10 points program. And all the other concept papers. But you see, and this I always tell even my colleagues in the party that we have very beautiful policies. But what becomes of the implementation bit of it? So I have hope that things can change. I believe that the current establishment can as well do better, can as well...
They have room to change.
They can seek redress.
Okay.
Yes, you can say 35 years and everything, but me, I believe this is a process. And the process...
It's a gradual process.
It is ongoing. It is ongoing and it is not an event.
Well, thank you so much, Bwana Michael, an activist from the National Resistance Movement. I want to appreciate your objectivity when you talk about some of the shortfalls, within the party that you support. I want to cross back to Dr. Birungi. The young man talks about the security in the country, and he is privileged. In the last 28 years, he has never heard of any bullet shots. Is it the same with that side, or he has a problem with his lenses on the eyes?
No, I agree. There is a positive step taken in securing the country. And I will give credit to the system.
Okay.
What they did is, when they secured the country, well, they had to put the country back to the hands of the citizens. And that's why they've lost it. They secured and they've held on.
Okay.
And that, like he said, it has killed the education system. And education is everything. He talked of research. I agree with him. If you kill research, all countries can't do anything before starting with research. But they've killed the research, and like I talked to you before he came, about my research, which I made, and I had anticipated that in COVID, doing a research in universities, doing online education, and anticipated 10 years ago that Uganda has to hit the high scale to start adopting e-technology. And especially I recommended it for Makerere University and all other public universities. Makerere University has lost the rating because, I will give you an example. I just compared with South Africa, not Europe. South African universities have operated throughout COVID, yet it hit them the most. Our universities completely dead. So these people, when they secured the country in security, but they became arrogant. Because they have nothing to offer in education, I will tell you. If you look at their lineup, they are not professional enough to have so much to offer in education. And in COVID, it has been worse. So that has taken us as a country back. And the one thing, by the way, the NRM government is going to do to Uganda is even to hit our morals. He talked of a person's background. Let me tell you, Ugandans' morals have decayed. That someone right now, a taxi driver, like we have a country which, that's what we call in political science, state capture. Yeah? Even the president is not in charge, and I will tell you for a fact. You go to a roundabout. A taximan will stop at a roundabout to put passengers in the taxi. When on Christmas, on 24th, I was on Bombo Road. there was no order that all the cars which were going, and they blocked each other. I mean, all 4 lanes are going to Gulu Road. All other 4 lanes are, because right now Ugandans, everyone can do what they want. And that is the worst thing the NRM has done. It has killed Ugandans' morals. Let me tell you for a short deal, and it's related to corruption. Their activities I did in the Lango region, and people in Lango were decent in the 1980s and 90s. Right now, you go back to do the same activities. Even, I will tell you, and this I give credit to UPC, because I told you Ugandan politics is tribal. Most of the Langis and the North people were in. But
you're trying to drive it towards that.
But they were more decent via corruption. But right now, NRM morals have degenerated, corruption, and all regions, even people who are decent enough, are no longer decent. You'll find people like Langis who are not corrupt. For example, I'll tell you, for example, I'm a Munyankole traffic man. When he grabs you, he wants 100,000. A Langi would take 5,000, but now they are also degenerating. Before COVID, army men were decent. That a policeman would take a bribe and army men wouldn't. But in COVID, the vice came from police to army. That in the daylight, even army men started taking bribes in the daylight. So the NRM will be remembered for moral decay of Ugandan. And if your morals decay, you cannot repair it. And that's the worst they've done for our country.
Well, thank you, Doctor, and thank you, Ndugu Michael. Now, I want to take you back to the question of security. It's like the two of you agreed on that, the question of security has been well handled by the country, but by the current, political leadership. Well, I want to take you back. We've seen a number of brutal killings here. We've had Muslim sheikhs being killed. We've had the Jambia issues. We've had the bombs in the city and elsewhere. Police has murdered young politicians. We have many leaders, officials who have been killed. Abirga was killed. Kawesi was killed. Gezi Jawani was killed. Chirumira was killed. Major Chigundu was killed. And many more. The list is endless. Politicians have been poisoned. You all know these things. We've had the Kasese killings. We've had the Kayunga killings. Recently, what happened in Luka, many young people were killed. Political persecution and everything. Many suspects have been shot. What do you call security?
What I call security, that is insecurity, personally. But what happened is, and it is related to the research you talked about, that when the army, they had 35 years to professionalize the army. Unfortunately, the army is still a tribal army. It is not professional enough. And also lacks research.
Why do you keep bending it on the side of tribal? Because we have many army officers who come from different regions of the country.
Good enough. I told you I have a PhD in political studies, but I am also a statistician, and also from the West. I'm a Munyankole. I can tell a Munyankole, and I am actually a son of this revolution, to tell you. So I know who is a Munyankole, who is in high ranks, and I can even name them. You want me to name them? The generals, and we see statistics, because, so the NRM government had time, 30 years, 35 years, to professionalize the army and mix the Ugandan tribes, and it becomes what we call national character. And they still have chance to do it. But intentionally, I don't know, they are not doing it. And like a professional tell, they are making a mistake. The other thing, there is a lack of that research in the army. Because what the army forces are doing, they are woodwinking the president. To show, for example, those investigations you said of Kagezi, all they do is to get money from the president to fund but they never go to the research of finding out what are the underlying factors which cause these kind of rebellions and all those terrorists. So what will happen is they are just fighting for resources, but they are not doing enough research to dig down. And they're also doing politics. For example, I will tell you, for one, even just a simple person knows that Sewanyana was not responsible for those kind of ADF atrocities. But because in law we say you have to be seen to be fair. Yeah? If you're persecuting politically, yeah, and it is a political game, you're saying, because you are noob. Our country should be past that stage. We want to redeem a country. You get the criminals. For example, I'll tell you, how comes the Arua cases have not been investigated to the end? You'd think Uganda don't have capacity to investigate if Bobi Wine had a gun. Or can't they tell us who shot at the president's convoy? So everything is stage managed and shown as if it is a political game. Yet these are facts. So everyone, including the young people, I was so disappointed because on Christmas, my daughter asked me, is the president a criminal? I said, how can you dare say that thing? This is the father of the nation, because I have Christian values. But he says, he has done this, and the young girl who is 8 could point out the things the president has unfairly done to his political opponent. I thought this is very unfortunate for the country and needs to be addressed. If young people can even see you detaining a person who you are supposed to campaign freely with, and even you don't allow them, even the least, yet they are even half your age. So that's why I'm telling you, NRM, on the moral issues, it will be worse than even Amin if they are not careful, if they don't change the trajectory. On moral grounding, because unfortunately for them, everything is digital and it is being played in the open.
Thank you, Doctor. I want to cross back to my comrade here, Michael Wadada. Well, you mentioned about the issue of security. You know, if a Ugandan who just lost a relative, if a child whose father was killed, you remember those things. Don't tell me that you've never heard of bullet shots since 28 years back. No, that is a lie, my brother. You know, if someone who's, these sheikhs who were just murdered of recently, if a child is watching and you're like, you have never heard of any bullet shot, what does that really mean? When I've given you a list of, the insecurity cases that have been happening in the country.
You see, first of all, I want you to understand one thing, that we live in a volatile region, the Great Lakes region. And the NRM, as an establishment, has got people who envy it. You see, and this me always tell people that power is for keeping. The NRM took power, and power is not given away. And that is the African understanding of taking power. So, in any case, you expect the forces that are anti the establishment to undermine the NRM's biggest achievement. If President Museveni is going to stand on the podium and say that the NRM brought peace and security, if you're the enemy of President Museveni, what are you going to do? You're going to undermine his achievement.
By?
Making sure you cause insecurity.
Who is the chief custodian of all the ammunition in this country?
Well, you see, when I was starting, I told you we live in a volatile region, the Great Lakes region. And our region is composed of a couple of things. The ICS involved, the ADF involved, and many others, And this is what I always tell people, that you see, the NRM government, especially in its first 20 years, was basically tackling insurgencies. That's why when you look at the budget appropriations in that time, mostly appropriations, more appropriations were given to security bit of it. The LRA war lasted for quite a long time. But anyway, that's it. The most important thing is, you mentioned those cases. You see, it is a fallacy to assume that you're going to be in an environment and such things don't happen. Human nature is bound to conflict. All those happenings are going to happen at any time of the day and anywhere. But the reason why we say and we credit the current establishment for security is, number one, we have, at least we are certain, because you see, even the cases you mentioned, many of these killings that happen, yes, not to say that, not to come off as an insensitive person. Of course, it will be terrible for me to come off as an insensitive person, but I really want us to appreciate that, first of all, a government has the tools of coercion. You get the whole point? Mm-hmm. And the government has monopoly over what? Violence. And that's why me, I always preach to my young people. I think last time we had a dialogue with fellow young people, and I was telling them that, you see, if as a young people in this nation, if we are to benefit and get listened to and get on the negotiation table to be listened to, we have the numbers. Do not hate on me because I'm NRM. And there's no reason I have not to speak to you because you're not NRM. Mm. Our constituency is that we are young people. The problems that you face are the problems that I face. When I go to university and we have to study in 4 shifts to do an ICT lecture, for which by the time I go for the last session, perhaps the lecturer is exhausted because of the ratio of student to lecturer. But maybe if me, I'm scheduled for the, I understand that. I know that a fellow youth struggles to get a job. I know not even a job actually. Me, I actually say a job is a high threshold. Internship. I think Dr. here knows. Students struggle to even get internship. A student will even reach all at a point where he even doesn't know where to go because he has tried everywhere and he has been turned down. So this is what I always tell my fellow young people, that as a young people, let us put the colors aside. Let us understand that the challenges that face us are the same. Our constituency is our age. So in so doing, now we should get to understand that if you're going to engage an armed army officer, there are high chances that this person has his own frustrations. I'm not here to paint a rosy picture for them. I don't know, I'm not an army officer, but I know they also have their own challenges. So provoking that army officer because you think you're very frustrated and what? Like the president last time said, it is bad mathematics for you to look at the 15 minutes of pleasure and then you end up doing what? Making a mistake. So same thing. I think, first of all, as a young people, we need to, first of all, seek redress. Understand that what is the best way we can actually speak with that voice. Because I don't want to paint hopelessness. No. I don't think it is all gloom and doom. Never. I think we can still speak, because you've heard of the NRM poor youth? You know them? Mm-hmm. You know how they are faring now?
They are rich youth now.
They are now rich youth. They're actually filthy rich. But you see, and me, this is an example I always tell fellow colleagues that whatever the case, we need to first of all look at them as a case study. How did they sit down and come up with this, with that thing and eventually make a cut out of it? These people understood that, okay, now we are incapacitated, but how can we do this? Now, that is the same thing, because not all of them are actually NRM. Some of them were FDC.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Before Doctor comes in, the number of comments coming through from our viewers here, I want to read through just a few of them. Someone on the line. Hello?
Hello?
Have someone on the line.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Tiff and the guest.
Good evening. How are you? Your name and where you're calling from?
This is Kato from Bara. Thank you for the show already.
Yes, Kato.
Now, I have 2 points to put across. First, I want to always tell these people, the NRM guys, like that Mr. Wadada in the studios, briefly telling us about the security that the regime has brought in this country. Shouldn't only stop on the people holding guns and moving up curfew, and they are all implementing such kind of, ideologies that are brought by the head of state. But this security goes much far beyond to the economic security, to the food, to the education security. There are so many. So we shouldn't only rely on the people holding guns and moving around to rule Moja and the rest. So we should put that into consideration and see how we help these people. Then secondly, I've heard the wise words of the double doctor in studios. But me here in Bara, we believe and we wish actually we could have that opportunity to also be fair kind of the policies and the ideas that we have. Other than these people of Noop and the rest who come here with a lot of English and there, so I think doctors should realize and feel that the people up country need to feel as a population the good ideas that they have, and so that we can leave this mchezo of moving us here and there by these other politicians who are looking for their own interests. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much, Bwana Kato from Mbalala, and we thank you for always watching the Hotline Show. Well, there is an issue raised to Wadada about the insecurity. Like, I think the scope of insecurity and how you describe it, it seems to be so much narrow. It should really, it goes beyond what you call security. Yeah, that's from.
Yeah, I actually had him, and I don't so much disagree with him.
Okay.
But I think he misunderstood my point. You see, and I always put it clearly that, you see, at the end of the day, and I think even you had the doctor also appreciating that the current establishment has done everything in their power to at least secure this country from border to border.
They have tried to secure.
Yeah, they have done their level best to secure the country from border to border. My grandmother is now 85 years, and she will always narrate to you those stories of how it was in the 70s, in the 60s. And to me, it is what actually gives me hope. But of course, yeah, we the young people, like Mr. Kato from Barara, he clearly puts it, and I agree with him, that the security, yes, the peace and security that has been there, we have had it. But it now needs to go beyond that. You get the whole point. It now needs to go beyond that. Because you see, I think it is my lecturer at university, Mr. Ramadan Go, he used to say it, that you can only appreciate the statistics if your pocket reciprocates with the statistics. If they say that our GDP is this and that, and yet in actual sense you're not. If they say the following young people are employed, the following people graduate, and the following are employed, and you're not amongst those who are employed, there is no way you're going to relate with that. So we need now to look beyond. Yeah, the security is there. Yes, we have been there. Now we now need to, because now it's a foundation. It's a foundation set by this government. Yes. But now, that's why I was saying that as a young people, we need now to, first of all, wake up and not stop being, we are sleeping giants.
Okay. Thank you. There was something for Doctor.
Yeah, and I appreciate what the viewer said and what Mr. Madada is saying. Wadada.
Yeah.
I think what happens is, like, we shouldn't walk back in circles. We should all appreciate that the security issue has been sorted to the large extent in Uganda. Every generation has its challenges. But let's not be taken back to think our challenge is security. I've been to big cities, San Francisco, Dubai, in the last... People are not even thinking that they can be in security. It's out of their mind. But these old people are tormenting us to show that security, if you leave us in security, no. If they did it for us, they've secured us. But our generation... It
shouldn't be a discussion anymore.
Exactly, and it shouldn't be a threat for them not to leave us to participate. Our challenges are different. What I don't agree with him is when he says we should be like these poor NRM who are now rich. And that's where all youth have sold their souls.
They should not be like them.
Yeah, because many of the young people, and I tell them, many of them are there pretending to be in politics, but they want to be bought off by the regime. This is very unfortunate. We are selling our souls. These people you see paid a price for even what the little they are enjoying. They paid a price. Some of them, yeah, I tell you. But one, they are now making us become sort of, and actually it's now I know it is their strategy. They don't want us to develop so that we don't take up our time. This is our time. This time is not for President Museveni or his group. They played their role, secured this country.
And you appreciate that.
And we appreciate that. But they are being selfish because it is their time to go.
I like the way how Wadada is looking at you.
Yeah, and it is our stage not to come because many of them, like these poor youth, now they gave them handouts. We are selling our rights, just like I think it's also in the Bible, for just mere handouts. We should talk to them in their faces and say, President Museveni, thank you for what you've done.
Well, thank you so much.
This is our stage.
Thank you so much.
And we are not taking the small handouts. We are taking the whole cake. We can participate in education.
I think I just want to make one clarification. I think
just 1 minute, then I read the
good doctor misquoted me. I actually was very specific. I didn't say that we should have them as icons. No. And that is why I clearly stated it that we are sleeping giants as young people.
Yeah.
As young people, we need to stand up and understand. Because you see, I think it is President Museveni himself who said it the time when he was still young and the Ignatius Kangawaya Musazi were old.
Yes.
I think it is in the Mustard Seed, where he says that Ignatius Kangawaya Musazi could not trust him because he was young, and him could not trust Ignatius Kangawaya Musazi because he was what? Well, but however, where I disagree with you, I don't think it is right to think that it is their time and they should go, and now it is us to take center stage. No.
At least prepare the way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
At least prepare the way.
Now that is what I believe is the best way we could go for it. Not to say that okay, it is their time, they should go and they should leave us. No, I don't think that is.
No, there is no gesture. For example, in the NRM, you know it, where even they are preparing the way. Yeah? Even when they are the strokes are about to hit them, see no gesture. I would want, not even Labour Party, but in you to see in the NRM party structure, where there is a way, a resemblance of handing over power, and practically, not these jokes, but practically we should see it. Do you see it in the NRM structure? A transition. Do you see it in your party?
Yes.
Well, before Wadada comes back to respond and give us more insights about the transitional kind of arrangement within their party, let's try to look through the comments. Bolesa Hassan, thank you for watching the show. You said you're live from Mukono and you appreciate. Then Twemereho, these names are hard for me. Twemereho Alex, indeed Dr. Birungi Rogers raises very pertinent issues. You can cheat whatever you want, but not nature. Then Tumsime Kato, but Dr. Rogers Barigayomwe. Minus 7 practicing your idea. Can't there be any other way to preach it to the public so that they can adopt it? I think was responding to when you're giving some of the ideas as you have as the Labour Party. Does it mean that with the Museveni's unwillingness to listen and practice your strategies are going to die unutilized? That was a question to you. Then Tumsim again said that the regime is centered around the fishermen, and they believe that the same fishermen will secure Ugandans' future. Then this one says the discussion about the rotational leadership is one thing, and practicing it is a different thing. You said you're one of the things you're fronting is to have rotational leadership. Since we have Mr. Museveni coming from the western part of the country, the next president should come maybe from the east, and then, like that. You never know. Wadada could be the next potential candidate from Bari, from the eastern. Yes. The east. Then this one says, on the issue of labor unions, it makes one think that somewhere, somehow, the Labour Party is a briefcase party. I don't know. The party's work is not visible in the population. Where is their problem? Where is your problem as the Labour Party? Then Rogers Tuliahawe says, I have a doctorate in political science. You are ruling president. I think he was trying to quote what you said. Your president has a bachelor's. Then he put those laughing emojis, and then that one, that you hit hard. Then someone said labor unions have been influential in different countries because it is one way of getting the business community into politics. Why isn't yours working? Because we can't see it. That is for you, doctor. Then this one says, talking of rotational leadership, are you trying to say that it is the only way through which all the regions of Uganda can develop? Because in your submission, you gave an example of how Western Uganda has greatly developed. You gave an example that there is a certain district you mentioned that I did not remember, that going there with a bicycle was a tag of Nyabushozi. Yes, I think he was responding to that. Then this one says, are the East African community structures grounded enough to direct the personal political ambitions of each of the heads of the states, so that personal feuds between individual leaders do not affect the whole bloc and the process of the integration? Turiahabu again, also a Labour Party chairman, how would you address unemployment if you were president? He doesn't want to be a president. He said the issue is basically to have working policies for the country. Okay, maybe I've quoted you wrong. Your main interest is not you to become a president, but is to have a functioning system in the country. Then Fahad Chiwanuka, thanks for the show. I wish all MPs in Uganda copy such gestures. Indeed, this show is quite vital. Oh, indeed and quite. Okay. Well, this one said, when the double doctor says that the 50, actually 500, this one wrote 50, but you said 500 MPs in Uganda are useless. I believe this without any hesitation. Then this one said, Happy New Year to you all, fellow viewers, live for the show. I, Nebiona Innocent, thanks for the show. I am watching live from Luengo. Well, thank you, our viewers. We really thank you for being part of the discussion and creating, this is the more we watch this, we just dip into your pockets, because if you do not have data, you cannot watch us. But we really thank you that you're always part of the show, time and again. So we really don't take you for granted. Mr. Wadada, there's something burning from the doctor, the young people, doctor says that the time is on their side. Of course, including you, including me, because we are not so much at the verge of, Now, when you talk about we're in the year 2022, what would be your political expectations in this new year? Of course, you've mentioned some of the flaws within your party, some of the achievements, but now, what would be your expectation?
Well, as first of all, as a core NRM youth activist, I will continue preaching the message of reminding the youth that, irrespective of which political party you subscribe to, our biggest constituency is our age.
The generation.
Is the generation, is us. And the more and the sooner we understand and appreciate the fact that that is the only way we can actually get to the bargaining table and raise our bargaining power, the worse it will get for us. Because it is not anyhow good for us.
Okay.
It is not even close to good for us.
Okay.
It is bad for us. The space for us is shrinking. And yet, we can actually wake up to this and occupy this space.
Thank you so much. I want to pose the same question to Doctor. What would be, because we just have like 2 minutes to get done to the show now, what would be your political expectations in the year 2022? Are you telling us the Labour Party is taking over power? We've had these statements coming from different political groups.
Actually, as challenged by even our viewers, I thought we should get the best experienced person in this country. But if they don't come up, me and my friend, we should across the board, because we agree our purpose is for the youth and for the future.
Yeah.
And these 80-year-old guys are not going to reason for us. We have to come out, we start giving all these ideas, and I'm starting to think about it. Because actually they are taking an advantage because the gap is there, and they are saying, look at the characters they are bringing. We are going to come out there and challenge them so that at least they implement these ideas. I'm now starting to think about it, and I'll give this show a very good credit, because I'm starting to think about going to the field and so preparing for 26?
2026.
Yeah, because that's where political ideas are shared.
Thank you so much. Mr. Wadada, give me your closing remarks. We end the show.
Well, first of all, I must say I'm humbled to be a part of this show. It is a very good platform. I love the feedback that I'm hearing. It really shows that people have been paying attention and listening, and that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
The moment and the more we have young people waking up to this call, understanding the problems, and not only understanding the problem, but also trying to come up with possible solutions. I can tell you one thing, that if only we can wake up to stand tall of our colors. Do not paint me yellow because I've said I'm NRM. No, I am NRM, but
You're Ugandan.
But I'm a Ugandan at the end of the day.
Thank you so much.
Yes, just a minute. Actually, one of my biggest inspirations is Adolf Hitler's statement. He one time said that if you ever want to change the system, work with the system. Get in the system, you will change the system.
Are you trying to have him join that side?
Well, I'm calling him to join our side because the more he fights from the other side, the more time runs out for him. But when he comes and joins us this way, with those brilliant ideas, the brilliant research works, we can push it. We can have a solid
incorporate them
and then make a pure push it, because nature is on our side.
Doctor, I would like to have your closing remarks in just a minute.
The system will easily change me. That's why I fear to rot in the system. I've preserved myself, I've observed, and actually I think I've done the most research on President Museveni. And he's one of the greatest leaders in Africa, but he's going to lose it all.
Oh, he has lost.
He's actually losing it all because of his selfishness. And he has just, I think, only 3 years to turn the things around. Because if I'm him, I would protect my legacy instead of being selfish for power.
Well, thank you so much, Doctor. And our viewers, the team that I have worked with, Roger on the cameras, the team in the control room, Tenjo, Anita, Jeremiah, Arnold, and everyone. Please, thank you so much for your input in the Hotline show. This has been our very first show for the year. And all our viewers, we thank you for always keeping it Dig Talk and not to miss the Hotline. My name is Abdalla Tiff, and Happy New Year to you all, and have a great night.
Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.